So what's our ROI?
Why is it so hard to make money on...
So yeah, I think somebody's doing some click fraud.
I have all this internet traffic, but I can just never make
This
any
internet
money.
stuff is so confusing. Let's get to work.
You're watching the Shoemoney Show, punk!
So, as everybody knows, on March 28th, the Zeal directory has announced that they are going to close shop and kill the doors on their directory. So, I wanted to do a show on directories and kind of like, do we still think they're important? Are they link farms? Exactly what is a directory? So, pretty much when I think of a directory, I basically think of basically buckets, if you will, websites that people submit their websites to, and then these actual directory owners go through and categorize the links into the correct folders or categories. So let's get some questions.
So what is a directory?
Hey honey, you know, a directory is a place where you put a load of websites and then you just spam it to bits. Normally, and I say normally, that are collected by hand or are submitted to your directory by people. They tend to be vertical websites, so if you had an industry that was mobile phones, you would have a directory that was basically a list of sites about mobile phones, ringtones, headsets for mobile phones, and all the sites that relate to those sites listed with basically a URL and a small snippet about what the directory is.
A directory is a human-edited taxonomy of, categories that you want to place the site under. So, for example, I have rustybrick.com. We do web services. I would put myself under a web consulting category. I would submit it manually by going to the category, clicking submit a site. Then later, X days later or X months later, somebody will review it, and it will either get listed or not get listed, and it's all based on human interaction, unlike a search engine, which is all spider activity, automated crawling of pages.
A directory is a human-reviewed, finite list of sites. It's not generated by crawling the web. It's generated by submission and human acceptance into structured order. There's going to be a taxonomy down from world, city to business to, whatever. But it's not generated by crawling or caching of pages or anything like we're used to in regular organic search.
So is that a link farm?
Hey sweetheart, our directory is a link farm. Some are for definitely, yeah. But a lot of directories, things like the Yahoo directory and the DMOZ directory and what was Zeal directory, these are really, really big directories. You do get a lot of people that will say, I'm going to build a directory because I want to work in this industry and promote my websites. So therefore they put their websites in the directory and then get their friends' directories to do the same. So you could end up with 10 or 20 people with 3 directories each, with 100 sites in each directory all linking to each other. That would be a link farm. But on the whole, most directories aren't link farms. They just aren't really that, what's the best way of describing it? They're not really a good informational point anymore. They used to be when there wasn't so many of them, but it's so easy just to scrape someone else's directory and create your own directory, put no follows on the links that you don't want any link love to go to, and put your own sites in there. So you've got to be very careful and really look into what directories you're putting your sites into.
No, I don't. A link farm is when you have, hundreds of sites linking to each other, as in a link farm. So I could have, sites 1 through 100 all linking to the same sites over and over again. That creates this one big circle of links between the same sites and looks like one big bubble. And that is typically what a link farm is. The directory could be perceived as link spam if it just allows anybody to go ahead and submit and doesn't, measure the quality, and you have all these bad types of links pointing to it.
Yes and no. I mean, absolutely, there's a ton of link farm quality directories out there. As look at all the DMOZ clones and that sort of thing. Whereas, as soon as DMOZ made their dump available, there was a million new directories out there, and it was part of the point of getting into DMOZ was that you would get distributed to all these clones before they got knocked out. There's a ton of good directories though, and I think you got to be very careful to not get the two mixed up. And if you're going to go directory submitting, you need to do your due diligence and make sure you're in the right places.
So why should I submit my site to directories?
It's a quick and easy way of getting links. But if you imagine that one link from an article on CNN would be worth 200 links from low-grade directories. I do pay for directory links in Yahoo, and I think that you actually get relevant traffic from there. Obviously the Google directories are taken from the DMOZ directory, so you need to get into the DMOZ directory, which is free, but stay away from things that you're not going to really get click-through traffic from. I think that's the golden rule. If you're going to get clicks from the link in the directory, do it. If you're doing it solely for link popularity in Google, you'll find that site will get killed after a while. I mean, the one that jumped straight to my mind was Bluefind, was it, that was selling links, and then they got culled and all the page rank just disappeared.
Like you should do with anything, you should really submit to a directory if you want that traffic. You shouldn't look at a directory and say, I'm submitting to a directory to increase my page rank or to get a higher ranking. You want to submit to a directory if you feel that the directory will actually lead to click-through traffic targeted click-through traffic. A lot of people have directories for page rank purposes and for link building purposes, but ultimately in the long run, Google and Yahoo and all the search engines will go ahead and look at those directories and see, are these directories worthwhile? And if they are worthwhile in terms of traffic, like they consider, I think, the Open Directory to be worthwhile, they consider the Yahoo directory to be worthwhile.
A directory is a permanent link, typically, to your site, and quite often you get to define the anchor text of that link. And certain directories obviously still have some authority. Yahoo is a perfect example that I firmly believe you should spend the $2.99 a year to be in Yahoo, regardless of what you're doing. DMOZ, set up your submission, hit go, and then never worry about it again. But there's also a host of other directories out there that cost anywhere from free to $5 or $25 a one-time submission. And if you go out and check them out, if they've got some page rank and the pages are search engine friendly, they're being indexed and crawled, it's certainly going to be worth your time to submit to them.
Well, is it worth it to pay for them?
Sweetheart, if you send your photograph over to me because you're so hot, you don't have to pay. It really depends on how much traffic they get in. If say you do a search in Google for, I don't know, telephone systems, and in the top 10 is a directory, and you can get a link on that page, then it's almost click pimping, you know what I mean? Because you're going to get the traffic from the Google search engine into the directory, and then it's a bit of a lottery if the person clicks on your link. If it's something that is totally bespoke to your industry and it's very well controlled and it's hard to get into, then yes. If you're just paying for a link, then you might as well go out and pay links on Wonderground or somewhere like that. You're just doing it for the link. If you're doing it for the traffic, by all means pay. If you're doing it for just the link love by itself, then Google most probably knows about that, and you're not going to get the link love anyway.
Okay, and then
I mean, it depends. I mean, $2.99 for most businesses is not a big deal at all. So if you go ahead and do a search on your company or a web service, do a search on your keyword terms that bring up your site in Yahoo, and you have a directory listing, it should add another line under your listing that says, for other categories, they'll list your directory you're listing, and that is either good or bad because it gives you another line, it gives you more real estate on the screen, but it also actually links to all your competitors in that screen, in that taxonomy. So It's not much for a real business. It really shows Google and Yahoo that you're paying to be listed in a really, it's $2.99. It's not something that is tiny, like one of these small sites that start off by a kid that wants to rank well for a certain keyword term, which is throw $2.99 at a year. But most companies would do that just to have the listing in the directory to show that you're official business.
Yeah, once again, it just boils down to, whether or not that the page that you would wind up on is indexed in the search engines. If that page is indexed, and if you check some of the sites on those pages, if that directory is showing up as a backlink, then by all means go ahead and do it. But if those qualifiers aren't there, I would avoid a directory because it's just going to be a waste of money if that link isn't going to be indexed.
We love the Shoemoney Show.